Jazz. What is jazz? You know, it's a little trickier than what it sounds like because you have the technical definition. But then if you were to ask people what is jazz as they're walking down the street, you're going to elicit different responses from different people. There's going to be the young person who's going to say, oh, well, that's what the old people listen to, right? They're going to think it's elevator music because they're referring to smooth jazz. You grab an old timer down the road and he or she's going to say, well, that's my music. Oh, that's my jazz. But then they'll probably follow that up with, yeah, but it's not the same. You know, jazz isn't what it used to be. And they're referencing and they're thinking about back in the day where they were listening to Miles Davis, John Coltrane, Charlie Parker, Cannonball Adderley, Thelonious Monk, Pretty Purdy, Tina Brooks. I mean, it goes on forever, right? But because they're not keeping up on what's happening, they think it's dead, it's gone. They go back home and maybe they throw on their records. You talk to somebody else, they're into different music, a different genre, and oh, that's that Dixieland style stuff from New Orleans, and you know, all of that's true, but it's so much more than that. And you know, as a young guy, I listened to a lot of different things. I listened to alternative, new wave, rock and roll, R&B, Motown, and but I've always liked jazz, and because I've always appreciated really what a big umbrella that is. You know, you have the R&B songs that bleed. You have the jazz. Let me rephrase it. You have the jazz that rolls into an R&B. You got the jazz that kind of goes over into a swing. It goes over into a blues. Goes into a Latin sound, you know, where you've got a bossa nova, a samba kind of feeling. You know, that's the beautiful thing. So what is jazz? To me, it's everything. You know? And here's what I'm trying to do. Here's what we are after. You know, and let me say that I've had some older people come into me and they say they've heard that we're opening up the club, and they say things like, well, I hear you want to play original content. You want bands to come in and play their original songs, and they're like, yeah, that's a valiant thing. That's awesome, but good luck with that. And they express concern because they say, well, you know, these days people don't want to employ, they don't want to hire bands, they don't want to take a chance, they don't want to do the unknown. They're more comfortable playing the known, the familiar, the thing you've heard 4 million times. And to me, that's not exciting, that's not compelling. No, don't get me wrong, you're going to come here and you're going to hear old school stuff, right? You're going to hear Horace Silver, you're going to hear all these things, you know. Salnistico. I mean, just, there's so many great old ones, but we want to marry the old, the expected, and new. That whether that's jazz coming from Europe that nobody's following, but they have similar sounds to what they're associating, what they expect, but then you got a whole different type of music out there that most people don't run across that have jazz elements in them. You can hear that piano, you can hear those horns, you can hear that sax, that trumpet, that bass, that heavy bass feel. So you can hear all that. And so when you come here, you may hear a swing song, but man, it's really jazzy. That's a jazzy kind of swing song. You can hear a jazz song, but boy, it's got an R&B kind of feel to it. You're coming here thinking you're going to hear some blues, and you're going to hear blues, but it's got a jazzy quality to it. So the idea is, we want to be everything to everybody, but everybody who wants to experience something. Everybody who wants to be exposed to something that they don't normally get a chance to be exposed to. How do you go out and find these songs? It's not as easy as all that. How do you get these bands? But here what you're not going to get is you're not going to get a bunch of the same old, same old. You're not going to have tribute bands, cover songs. The occasional standard may pop in, but not many of them. Because to me, that's not compelling. My goal in redefining the modern jazz club and bridging the gap between the old and the new and introducing it to a whole nother generation so it can live on is to get something hipper, a little bit more of a funky beat that they can relate to, but then that crosses over to what everybody expects as your, or they think of as classic jazz. So then they get to expose, because you're just going to play a bunch of Miles Davis for them, that's not going to work. They're going to be gone, right? You can't just rely on the old schoolers. And hearing something new for the first time when I'm driving in my car and I hear on a radio a song I've never heard before, I'm lucky I caught it in the beginning. I don't know who sang it, but man, I'm into it and I wish I could hear it again. That's fun. Turning the song, the radio to a station, and I hear a song I've heard 5 million times. That's a bit of an exaggeration, but you get the idea. A lot, right? Okay, I still may like the song. I may like it every time I hear it, but it doesn't move me. I've heard it. I've heard it to death. I've got the CD or whatever, the MP3 over there. So that's us. That's Impulse Room Jazz Club, bringing the old, the new together in a forum that everybody can come and there's something for everybody. So what is jazz? Jazz is everything. Jazz is cool.